Hi, this is one of a series of stories about careers in ergonomics and human factors. This fantastic discipline is centred around people and about how they think, what their capabilities are, and then designing things so it helps them succeed in what they do. There are lots of ways to start a career in human factors. So in these sessions, we're hearing direct from our members about how they started and where they hope to go. Today, I'm really pleased to introduce Gary Guan, who will be graduating from his degree course this year. He's already got a story to tell, so we're looking forward to that. So Gary, welcome. Great to see you here today.
Thank you for having me on, Tina.
You're very welcome. I'm really interested in sort of discovering your story. You're still a student, but you've got a great story behind you. So how did you get into HF in the first place? How did you decide to do a degree?
HF is sort of an interesting story, really, because I originally started back at A-level. So A-level, we got to choose what sort of project we wanted to do. And I decided to pick to sort of design like a smartwatch device for a visually impaired user. So through that, I managed to find the person and work with them, sort of work as a user-centered design process. And when I came to apply for I originally applied for industrial design at Loughborough. And obviously that project was in my portfolio. And when the interviewer sort of finished with the interview, they sort of recommended the user-centered design program, based on the sort of work I've done in my A-level projects, working with visually impaired users and sort of, understanding their needs and capabilities and sort of tailoring a device to suit them. So that's when they recommended user-centered design. It's quite similar to industrial. You get sort of the aspect of the design, which is what I was interested in, but also sort of obviously the ergonomics and human factor side. So that's what really started my HF journey. And obviously, as I progress, first year and second year of the course, I had different modules that looked at physical, cognitive, and sort of environmental ergonomics, all of which I find interesting. So it's like a broad introduction, really.
That's great. I mean, great to pick up a project like that at A-level at that time, and to then really get that interest in designing for people, and then of course being able to find a course that really matched what your interests were. Fantastic. So what happened after your second year? You did a placement, didn't you? Tell us a bit about that. What made you decide to take a placement, and how that went?
Yeah. So the placement year, all the Loughborough sort of design programs have it. I'm not sure about the design ergonomics, but because and it's an experience that they try to sort of persuade us to do, because it offers a lot of you learn the practical side and theoretical in first and second year, and the placement just gives you the opportunity to sort of practice it in the real world, as I say. And it's something that I going into the degree, that's what I signed up for. Straight away I thought that's what I was thinking. It's it's a great opportunity to learn how ergonomics and factors or design practice in the real world. And obviously during second half of second year I started looking around for different placements. A lot of them were more design orientated. There were a few ergonomics and human factor specific ones I went for. But I came across John and Canary Designs at the sort of CIEHF annual conference back in 2019 now. And I mean, John had a stand on to sell services, but I ended up selling myself to him. It's mainly interested me, in John's line of work. Obviously, he's a HF practitioner, but he also had a lot of the CAD and digital human modeling software. So, which is what I had sort of in experience in. So second year, I just completed a module in sort of SamiCAD, which is the Loughborough equivalent of digital human modeling, looking at sort of HGV blind spots and vulnerable users, road users. And that's sort of similar to what John does in terms. You've got design. He assesses it with the digital human models and writes a report. So after doing that project in second year and hearing what John does, so that sort of just sparked more conversations and obviously the usual process of interview and an offer.
That sounds fantastic. You're obviously very proactive about, going out and finding a placement. How easy was it to find though? Were there many placements on offer when you were looking?
There wasn't a huge amount of HF offering that I could find anyway, so I obviously used the typical online searches. I think Indeed, Glassdoor, and all those usual ones. I think I definitely found it easier to sort of find UX and design orientated ones rather than HF. I think there's just less of them available. It's more niche, I think is the article, but it did take me a little while. I think I ended up applying, by the time I spoke to John, about 60, 70 different applications for various different companies. But obviously, I think it's nice to sort of meet, John, who does it all, and to talk to them, because I think with some older organisations, you sort of have to, you talk to someone that's not in the department, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think now that I've started looking in between, sort of after placement and in third year, there are a few more HF ones I've noticed, pop up in different areas.
You really have to make an effort yourself to go and find these things, think about what it is that you're really interested in, and for you, a great, as you said, you found your placement through John and yourself being at the Institute's annual conference, which is a great way to meet people, and I think you've also helped us out with the secretariat at that event as well, haven't you? Tell us a bit about your experience there.
Yeah, no, I think it's obviously I do a lot of the pharmaceutical sector group work, which means I work quite closely with yourself and Iris on the various different aspects, getting things circulated or running some webinars for the sector group, which was sort of my main sort of route to get involved more with the institute. So in first year, we had, I think it was Mike Frey, who did a lot of the physical anthropometry ergonomics with us. And through that, we were all registered as members. I didn't really know what it was really until, I started looking into it, and obviously I heard about the careers fair, which is all quite interesting. But I think yourself might have circulated a message saying the, pharmaceutical sector group were looking for someone to help with their sort of administration stuff. So obviously I found it quite interesting, seeing how, because pharmaceutical, I thought it's quite specific, but it's also quite an interesting, area. Who would have thought, especially in the current times. But it was a great way to sort of learn about how HF was being practiced there, and also to work more closely with yourself and Iris. It's given me the opportunity, like you said, like a secretary at the annual conference, and also helping out with last year's careers events. So it means I can go to these physical events and also, meet people like John.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really good point you make there about just getting involved. I think in our discipline, where there's not a huge number of people in it, as you said, and jobs are quite, you have to go and look for them. They're there, but you need to go and look for them sometimes. Getting that extra experience outside of university through involvement with a professional body is really, really important, and really adds to your skill set and your general experience, and certainly improves your networking and gets you to know other people. Just tell us a little bit about well, you're going to graduate this year. It's been a difficult year, I guess, for all students, and you're having to work online now. But once you graduate, what are your plans? What are your plans for the future? Where would you like to see your future going?
I think I want to stay in this world of ergonomics and HF. Obviously I spent 3 years building up my degree and the different skill sets for it, but it's mainly looking for sort of a graduate scheme to sort of go on and work towards chartership, through the different sort of path gateways with the institute. But I think the main sort of thing I'm looking for in these opportunities for graduate scheme is more of a blend of what I like, sort of the design and the ergonomics, rather than a lot of the stuff I've seen is more sort of report writing and assessment side of ergonomics, which I understand, the importance of it, but I sort of want to see get involved in the other side, designing, to reduce the risks and how you prevent it, because that's predominantly that's my key interest, and it's what skills I've built up on as well at university. So I want to put them to use in a way, and that's the sort of direction I want to walk towards, really.
Great. That's great to have that sort of vision in mind, and I hope you succeed in finding what you want there. But I know that with your your proactive sort of way of going about things, I'm sure you'll find something. Just finally then, so if you were to to take the route that you've taken already and do the things you've done, would you do it differently in future, or would you do the same again?
I think knowing what I know now and going back, so I'd definitely still do a placement year. It might be difficult in the current circumstances, but there are still some. I had a look before this, and there was still some floating around, because I think the year I spent with John was very valuable in terms of the impact it had on my degree and learning, and just working in general, because at university I think there's a big emphasis on the process, which I understand, but when you're sort of out there doing things, it's more about the results. So there's less about documenting what you do and just getting it done. And I'd say definitely try to go to sort of more chief events, like you said about the networking. So the annual conference, I think it came at the right time for me, luckily. But if I'd known about it, the experience I could have, I probably would have gone in first year, the year before, just to sort of meet different people, and sort of just carry on attending some events. So I think a webinar, which inclusive design, which Dan Jenkins ran. The funny thing is, I went to that. I think it was around August last year, I think it was. And he actually came to our Loughborough, well, it wasn't in the lecture, but he was online when he did a Teams call with us about the same thing. So it's a lot of the stuff where the institute hosts, like the webinars, is quite relevant to my degree. So it's just sort of getting more involved, really. Obviously, there are some events that are non-running this year, but there's still plenty going on online, as I'm sure you can. You run it all.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're right. You make some great points there again about getting involved, about taking all the chances you can, in getting more experience, more learning, and certainly at the institute, we try to offer a variety of online events at the moment and physical events when we can. And give you plenty of opportunity if you'd like to get involved. So if you're currently a student, or you're just coming up to graduation, or you've just graduated, then you want to get involved in the institute, then please do contact us, look out for the things we're doing, and you can certainly become involved. So Gary, thank you so much for your time today. It's been really, really great to talk to you and to hear your experiences. Good luck with your future career, and we'll say goodbye for now.
Thank you very much, Tina. Goodbye.